welcome to this learning conversation. Conversation, so ibig sabihin, usap po tayo. There are two ways to participate in the conversation, and one is to chat, and the other one is if you raise your hand, somebody will unmute you, or you will be called, and then you may unmute and share your own experiences here. No? So to start with, can you please just give us some information about yourself, like your name, your company, and your role in recruitment? Para lang magkaroon tayo ng kaunting profile about who we're having conversation with this afternoon. Okay. So, let me take this opportunity to introduce my organization. If you're not familiar with us, we are ExeQserve Corporation. We are a human resource and organization development consulting company. And for the last 13 years, we've worked with various organizations in the areas of HR and organization development. And one of the favorite functions is recruitment, no? Because ExeQserve Corporation started as an executive search company before we delve into everything HR. And now we've come back as well in the area of recruitment, primarily to set up the recruitment recruitment policies, strategies of our clients. No? And online webinars learning is something that we don't used to do. Sabi nga nila, sino ba ang driver ng digitization ng inyong company? Is it the CEO? Is it the IT head? No, it's COVID-19. So that's why we're all here in this seminar. So that's who we are. A little bit about me, your facilitator for this afternoon. I'm Edwin Ebreo, and I'm the founder and president of ExeQserve Corporation. And 20 plus years of experience in HR training and OD. And these are some of the things that I think you should know about myself. Okay. So, okay. Now, what are our learning objectives this afternoon? Okay. The first objective is I want to share with you some of the trending concerns of recruitment professionals. To tell you a little bit more about that, you know, how I was able to get this information, okay, and share with you the findings and exchange ideas with you about what we think we need to do in order to improve the recruitment practice in our country, or at the very least, your organization. Next objective is to recognize performance and process gaps in recruitment. Ano ba yung mga gaps na yan, and how do we fill that gap? Okay. And third would be identify the development needs of recruitment professionals, or at the very least, the recruitment professionals in your organization, if you're a head of recruitment, or if you're head of HR in charge of recruitment, or if you're a recruitment associate who's building a career in recruitment. Ano ba yung mga development needs natin? And then, hopefully, in the end, individually, you can develop an action plan to address the recruitment performance gaps in your organizations. Okay, so what are our norms? We prepared some polls and questions. It will pop up on your screen at appointed time. And I recommend that you participate in the polls. Sometimes I'm going to ask you to annotate. Okay. I don't know if you're familiar with that function. Let me just, you see, if you put your mouse on top of the screen, you see the annotate function. Okay. Can you do that and just write anything on the screen? Can you do that like this, for example? Can you do that? Anyone? You try and do that. Yan. See some heart. Sige lang po, wag mahiya. I just want to know if gising pa ba yung mga kausap ko. Okay, did you find it? Okay, if you have any question kung paano, let me know. Okay, there. So we will use this, it's a sort of a whiteboard function that will help you participate in the question and answer portions of this session. So I recommend that you use chat to share thoughts and questions. If I can answer it now, I'll try to answer them. And then if not, we're going to compile all the questions so that we can email to you all the questions that we received together with the answers. I think we've already by default muted your mic, but you can unmute it. You can raise your hand if you have any question, okay? And we'll try to accommodate your questions, or if you want to share something. Please note that we will share the presentation slides after the session. Mukhang you've had fun with the annotation, so I'll stop it for now. There you go, may umabol pa talaga. All right. Okay, so let's get started. All right. So we did a survey, and the survey covered requisitioning talents. What are the challenges that you've experienced when your company or your hiring managers are requisitioning or requesting for additional staff, additional personnel, additional manpower? Okay. What are the challenges that you experience in looking for talents, in screening them, and getting them on board? Bakit kasama yung onboarding? I think because as recruitment professionals, our ultimate measure of performance is job fit, meaning the candidates were able to stay in the company for a considerable amount of time and are able to perform well. So we invest a lot of time and effort on trying to find candidates, tapos aalis lang after 2 weeks kasi hindi na on board na maayos. No? O kaya pumasok, pumirma ng kontrata, tapos hindi mo na nakita kasi negative ang experience. Okay? May mga questions ba tayo so far? Wala. All right. So, disclaimer, hindi po sophisticated yung survey na ginawa ko. And if you're one of the people who answered the survey, you know that these are just a few questions. However, we had a very interesting results that what I want to do in the near future, really, really soon, is come up with a more detailed, more sophisticated research on this time recruitment best practices in the Philippines. And of course, I would love to share those information with the recruitment and the HR community in general. Okay? So, yung when I look at recruitment, I look at several processes within the recruitment function. One would be requisitioning. That includes position profiling. Ano to when you are requisitioning, you are trying to describe the talent or the candidate that you're looking for, and that's very, very important. Because if you're not able to do that effectively, guesswork takes over. And when you guess things, chances are you'll guess wrong. So yan yung isang challenge. Second is sourcing. Okay? Ano ang strategy mo for sourcing? Because you cannot have one size fits all strategy. No? How do you brand your company? Like, how do you attract the talent that you're looking for? And inbound recruiting is about drawing candidates in and getting them engaged in the recruitment process. Ano? To see the recruitment process to the end. Kasi ang daming ang daming mga moments of truth. Nakita yung ad mo, will they apply or not? Pag nag-apply, will the person show up for interview or not? Okay? Marami ako i-share tungkol dyan. Nag-show up for interview, tutuloy ba dun sa final interview or not? Di ba? Pumirma tumanggap ng offer, na-counter offer, tumuloy ba sa employment or not? Okay? So, sourcing is very important process of recruitment. Okay? Screening, administration of tests if this is something that you do, and also interviewing on the part of the recruitment team, and then interviewing on the part of the hiring decision maker. Okay, and then of course the onboarding. Yung pre-employment requirement, yung before the first day, during the first day. Okay. Pop quiz, and can you answer using your chat? How long should an onboarding process last? Gaano katagal dapat, gaano kahaba ang onboarding process? Okay. What are we seeing? 1 week? Ano pa? 1 week? Anyone? For 1 week. Onboarding process? 1 week. Sige. Ano pa? Anyone? In your company, how long is your onboarding process? Huh? 2 days? 1 day? Okay. An onboarding process should be 6 months. 6 months. 6 na buwan ang onboarding process. Hanggat hindi nare-regular yung candidate, ay nasa onboarding process pa siya. Okay? Kasi yung ating recruitment KPI on job fit, yung retention and performance of the newly hired employees can only be realized on the 6th month. And in many organizations, you're right, the onboarding process could be as short as 1 day. Meron ngang wala. Okay? Merong mga iba. Sino yun? Bagong employee. Talaga? Nangyayari yun, ano? Okay. So, let's now dive into the survey that we did. And then I'm gonna ask you to answer a few questions. So I hope you're game, because again, when we marketed this activity, we said it's going to be a learning conversation. It will be great to get some insights from you. Okay? So let's start with onboarding. Nakita niyo yung picture? Does that sound familiar to you? Na kapag ka may bagong position na kailangang i-fill out, eh tumatakbo yung hiring manager, hinahabol mo, bigyan ka ng job description. Can you raise your hand kung kung nangyayari yan sa inyo? Okay. There you go. Now, si Danny, who's my assistant, is going to share with you a poll, and let's look at that poll. Let's see if we can. Okay. Ayan. Ken? Why? Okay. Nasa akin yata. So, relaunch it. You see it? Okay. Can you please answer the poll? What are the challenges you encounter during talent requisitioning? Is the requisitioning process taken for granted by your stakeholders? Okay. You can check all that applies. If these are all happening, you can check all. If not, just the ones that apply. Okay. So about 50% has already voted. Okay. I'm just going to wait for maybe 30 seconds more before we end the polling so you can see the result. Okay, we're at 72%. I think the remaining percentage is my team, if I'm not mistaken. Now you can as co-host. Okay. All right. So I'm going to end the polling so you can see the result. You see it? Okay. And kung meron kayong additional challenges aside from the ones that were identified here, you can post it in the chat box so that we can see them. No? So according to you, about 41% says that the requisitioning process is often taken for granted by stakeholders. So that's 41%. Can somebody please take a... and then 59%, that's the highest, managers don't provide complete information about the positions they want filled. Yeah. And then about 24% says that I feel that we are not profiling our positions well. The funny thing is, pagka hindi nag-take seriously yung manager, most likely maapektuhan yung position profiling. And then there is a mismatch between expectations and budget for the positions. Ayan, di ba? Ang hinahanap 10 years of experience, ang budget pang 3 years of experience. Okay, sino po nakaka-relate? Raise your hand. Okay. So there, 2 persons raised their hands. Okay. So what did our survey say? Thank you. Eto, no? So very very similar to what we just had this afternoon. About 41.3% of the participants, about 41.3% of the people who responded to the survey say that the managers take the process for granted. Kung merong documented process, kung may policy and procedure, that's taken for granted. And the managers provide incomplete information about the position. About 41.3% say the positions are not profiled well. And the highest would be budget mismatch. Yung hinahanap at saka yung budget ay magkalayo. Okay? So that makes the work cut out for us, no, as recruitment professionals, na ang taas-taas ng mga competencies and qualifications, pero unwilling to pay, no? Ayan yung nangyayari. Okay. So what's my hypothesis? My hypothesis is that many companies don't have norms or rules for profiling position. So very intuitive and heroic yung approach sa profiling of the position. And this is very important kasi pag mali ang specs, mali ang output, di ba? Yun yung mangyayari. Or maraming rework. Ito ba yung hinahanap mo? Hindi naman yan yung hinahanap ko. Pero ito yung sabi mo, no? So now let's test this. Okay? Using the annotate function that's on top of your screen, you know, when you put your cursor on. Can you use the stamp function to put a check, okay? Put a check on the one that's applicable in your own organization. Is your organization's hiring managers following a clearly drawn policies and procedures? In short, meron clearly drawn policies and procedures for requisition and position profiling. So para i-check mo yan for your own organization, dapat may nakasulat na policies and procedures on requisitioning and position profiling, and that the hiring managers are able to follow those procedures. So check that if that's true for your organization. Kung hindi yan true for your organization, can you, kasi hindi naman namin nakikita kung sino yung gumagawa, so feel free to check where you have. We don't have a standard process, at kung meron man, hindi sinusunod ng mga managers. Ayun, may isang malaking check doon. Pero karamihan nasa taas, ano? Our hiring managers follow our clearly drawn policies and procedures for requisition and position profiling. That's peculiar. This is strange. You know why this is strange? Kasi kanina doon sa survey, yung sinabi nyo na the managers are taking the process for granted. About 41% of you said that that's where you're at. No? So yeah. Pero dito, sinasabi natin, we have clearly drawn policies and procedures, okay, and that people are following them. The hiring managers are following them. Interesting. So there you have it. Okay. So I suppose that the check that I'm seeing here is the 60%, and the checks that I'm seeing at the bottom are the 40%. Okay. I have another question. Okay. Let me hide this for a while. On recruitment and hiring, managers' ability to profile positions. Ganun po ulit, using the annotate function, can you please stamp, okay, on the one that's more true in your organization? Our recruitment team members and hiring managers are well trained. So there is a formal training program for the recruiters and the hiring decision makers. No? Ayan. Okay. So yeah, please participate so we can see what's happening in your organization and collectively what's happening in the practice. So dito, parang sinasabi natin about more than half don't have a formal training on recruitment, on profiling positions. And then there are about 4 people who said that they have formal, well-trained people who are involved in the recruitment process. So, given this, ano ang mga possible conclusions natin? Okay? The reason why inconsistent yung approach ng mga managers natin when it comes to position profiling is because even if there is a policy in place, is that there's no training on how to effectively carry out the task of profiling the position. No? So yun yung challenge natin. Okay. So far, kung may tanong po kayo, can you please just post it in the chat so that I can answer them? Do you have questions? Wala pa. Medyo mahihain yung ating mga participants, ano? Feel free to ask your questions, as we progress. Okay. So let me continue. Okay. Doon sa mga nandito, because this is a learning conversation and this is an opportunity to share. This is especially true for those who said, "Oh, we have a system, it's in place, and people are trained." May I ask for some, maybe a couple of volunteers who can share with us their requisitioning and position profiling practice. Meron po bang gustong mag-share? You can unmute and share your experience in your organization for the benefit of the people in this class. Raise your hand if you like to share. Walang gustong mag-share. Okay. So going once, going twice. Wala. Okay, that's fine. Okay lang yan, walang pilitan. So what are my recommendations, no? What are my recommendations? Especially for those who said, "Oh, we don't have a clear set of standards and procedure for profiling position." So have one. Okay. It's important that you have an acceptable or an accepted procedure for profiling positions. No, I'm gonna share a few slides after this. After this slide, to share what I think position profiling should be. No, and then second, it's very important to train people, no, involved in the process so that we're all on the same page. Madalas kasi yung requisitioning form, what do you call it? MRF or PRF, no? So I prefer PRF, personnel request form, kasi yung manpower demand lang, walang women, no? Just trying to be funny. Anyway, so train all involved in the process of profiling position because madalas yung PRF hindi na-fill upan na mabuti. Hindi lahat ng information nandun. At kung yung job description ay also hindi updated, what happens? Okay, a lot of the needed information is left, no? So which leaves the recruitment team guessing kung ano yung hinahanap. Next is align budget with expectations and market. Otherwise, align expectations with budget. Anong ibig sabihin nun? When I'm doing recruitment, sometimes may mga client, sasabihin nila, ito yung lahat ng hinahanap ko. 10 years of experience, with exposure in this particular industries, etc., etc. 10 years of experience, pero yung budget pang 5 years of experience lang. So you have to ask, okay, if you cannot afford somebody with that kind of profile because the market says, ito na yung hinahanap mo pang 100,000 pero yung budget mo pang 50,000. So what do we do? Okay? One is to adjust the expectation. Maybe you can train people to develop the skills in your organization. That's one. Of course, the easier one, if you really want to buy talent, is to match the market. So that means you work with whoever is in charge with keeping your salary structure updated. Part din naman yan ng HR. Work with them so that they know what the market rate is for the position they're trying to fill. Next is, if compensation is not your strength as a company, what is your employer value proposition? Because not everything is about salary. What do you offer? If it's not salary, what do you offer? Okay? Is it the learning opportunity? Is it development? Is it training? Okay? Is it the company's culture? Okay? Is it the work condition, the work-life balance? Ano yun? Okay? So those are the things that something has to give. Ayun. So we have a question. How do we define market rate? Okay? Yan. That's a very good question. Ano? Pakibasa nga ulit, Miss.
How do we define market rate? Any sources we can refer to or research materials we can start benchmarking?
Ayan. Okay. Very complicated, ano? Kasi you need to benchmark. So there's Towers, there's Mercer, no? Of course, ECOP has, pero definitely, if you're going to do this, yung market benchmarking, you have to buy data. Ngayon, kung hindi yun kaya, kung magsasariling sikap ka, one of the things that we try to do pagka walang available is we try to look at yung available information using JobStreet, no? Yung mga asking ng mga tao, so we try to calibrate. No? So, yan. So, meaning work with your compensation and benefits, the people in charge of getting your salary structure updated, make sure that it's competitive to market. Medyo challenging na gawin yung yung salary benchmarking on your own. So you have to access information. So ano ba yun? Towers Willis ba yun? Willis Towers. Mercer, ECOP also has. And I don't know if JobStreet still offers yung market data sa compensation. Not anymore. Okay. Ano yung tanong? Okay, another question.
What are the most creative benefits you have seen in your
creative benefits? Okay. I have one client. They're in the travel. They're in the travel business, so they offer travel package for their employees. You have to look at what you can afford as an organization. No? So medyo medyo off topic yung ano, no, yung benefits, but I understand where you're coming from with that. So siguro we can set another conversation on benefits. Right now, anyway, mamaya when we talk about employer branding, we can look at we can look deeper into this, what we say employer value proposition. Ayan. Now, how do you determine employment fit? No? So merong apat na areas that I think we should look at. Number one would be job fit. Sorry dun sa ating framework, nandun siya sa ilalim, but that's one. Ano? Does the person have the competencies needed to effectively carry out the job? No? Second is, will the person, if the person is competent, fit into the culture of the organization? Kasi maraming mga tao, very successful in their previous employment, nagpe-fail doon sa new employment kasi nagkakaroon ng culture shock, no? Nagkakaroon ng cultural misalignment. Next is fit with the relationship with the boss or the manager. I remember hiring a customer service manager for a company na expat yung ano, no, expat yung boss. And the boss, the culture of the boss is very aggressive, no? Curses a lot, shouts a lot, yeah. And a lot of people are they come and go, no? Parang revolving door yung pagpasok ng tao, ma-upset dun sa boss and then they leave. So even very competent people who don't know how to deal with the boss are having difficulty staying on the job. So that's a very important input for us. So when we try to find candidate or see someone who is competent, we ask, how do you deal with this kind of a boss? Is this something that you can work with? No? Kaya mo bang mag-thrive? Kasi hindi pwedeng ang tanong mo is kaya mo bang tiisin yung masungit na boss or kaya mo bang tiisin yung mapalasigaw na boss. Hindi pwedeng tiis lang eh. Kailangan kaya mo bang mag-thrive in an environment that's very competitive and very aggressive. And of course, some consideration would be location fit. Okay, alam niyo naman pag normal ang traffic sa Pilipinas, ang normal natin is 3 kilometers per hour. So that can be quite a challenge. No? So these are some of the consideration. But in my next slides, I'm going to focus more on job fit. Okay. Anybody familiar with the competency iceberg? Yeah, raise your hand. You're familiar. Okay. So this is just one way of profile. There are many ways to profile a position. But if you're going to profile a position, I recommend that you look at these areas, no? Yung skills, knowledge, how the person sees the self in the role, self-image, how the person sees himself or herself, the traits, no, strengths and weaknesses, and the person's motives. No? Let me just put that into context. Okay. So pagdating sa skill, like if we're trying to hire a recruitment manager, we're going to hire a recruitment manager. What are the hard skills required, no, to become an effective recruitment manager? So these are examples of hard skills, no? Planning, problem solving, budgeting, scheduling, risk management, time management, production, project management, yeah. And then you have the soft skills. We're all familiar with this. So it's important to recognize if we're going to hire somebody, what kind of hard skills and soft skills must this talent have in order to succeed on the job? That's the first. Of course, knowledge is important. Ano? What should this person know? So that the person can be familiar with the terrain of the job. Okay, that's knowledge. Second is social role. Okay, if you're going to be a recruitment manager, how should you see yourself? No? Sabi kasi dito, it is how you see yourself in society or in the organization. It affects what you think you should do in a role and the things that you consider to be important. So my question to you is, and you can share your insights in the chat box. How would you describe the social role of a person who is successful as a recruitment manager? What should this person be? Ano ba? May wala. Para maging mahusay ka na recruitment manager, how should you see yourself in the context of your role as a recruitment manager? What would make a good recruitment manager? Would a leader, for example, if you're a recruitment manager, should be a leader or strategic leader, a problem solver, or an order taker? No? An order fulfillment person. Okay. Personally, I think that a recruitment manager should see himself or herself as a leader. I think maraming problema na nangyayari sa recruitment practice is because may mga hindi ko masabing marami dahil hindi naman ako nag-research. May mga na-encounter ako ng mga recruitment managers who are just order takers rather than as a strategic partner in the organization who guides the organization in the rudiments and the challenges of recruitment. So I would add that if I'm going to hire a recruitment manager, I would look for someone who sees himself or herself as a leader. No? I'm not talking about recruitment management experience. Okay? I'm talking about the person seeing himself or herself having a vision, having the ability to influence others, okay, to change the way they do recruitment. So that's one example. Okay. Next is self-image. No? Self-image is our sense of self, of who we are, which contains elements of positive, negative, unconditional regard. How do you see yourself? Okay. Are you confident? If you're a recruitment person, is confidence important? Is being outgoing important? Being able to communicate with others important? Yeah, di ba? Then traits. Maraming dimensions yung traits, no? What are the traits that we're looking for in the position? No? There's a gamut of traits that you can look at. And what I've learned from experience is may mga overlaps itong mga ito. We just may mga puso-puso. Ayan. Okay. And then last, this one's very important for me. If you're going to hire someone in your organization and given what your organization has to offer, what are the aspirations of this person, so that this person, if this person has the knowledge and skills and all the other dimensions required for the job, will this person be motivated to work in your organization? So if your compensation is high, I mean the package is high, so you're looking for someone who is motivated by a competitive salary. If the salary is not so high, but there's an opportunity for career growth, okay, maybe you will be able to find someone who is looking for moving up, in the organization. Is it learning new things? Is it about the organizational culture? Is it about, there are a few times when a candidate would ask me, what are the core values of the organization? I want to know if there is a match between the things that I value and what the organization values. Okay, the nature of work, no? Office work ba yan? Field work ba yan? Stability. yung mga bagong nagkakapamilya or lumalaki yung pamilya na looking for stability. Is that their motives? Okay. Are they looking for new challenges? What is the kind of candidate who will be attracted in your organization given what your organization has to offer? So those are examples, no, of profiling positions. So meron kang framework na sinusunod. Okay? Any questions so far about that dimension? Okay. Now, shameless plug po. On Tuesday, we're going to run a more detailed session on position profiling for targeted recruiting. I'm going to share some tools and templates that you can use for profiling positions in your organization. If you want to join that online workshop, please register so that we can reserve spot. Hindi na seat, no? We can reserve a spot for you and share with you some of the tools that you can use for position profiling. So we now move to the next portion. I invested a considerable amount of time on position profiling earlier because I think a good start will have a higher chance of getting to good results. Bad start, bad result. Okay? So once na profile mo na yung position, ano yung mga kailangan mong gawin? So what are the sourcing challenges? Okay? So I'm going to, ako na lang, Danny. Okay. So Danny will share a poll and I encourage you to participate on your organization's experience of your challenges in sourcing. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, about 63% have already voted. So please participate and we'll do our best to share all these results with you after the session. So you can maybe benchmark information with others. Okay. So we're at 77%. I think that's okay na yun, ano? So let's show the result, Danny. Okay. So about 29% said that the sourcing strategy is not attracting the talents that we need. Okay. So second is yung job ads are generic. Wanted. Ang ganun na, no? Wanted, accountant. Ayan. Masyadong generic. Many of the candidates we call don't show up. Bakit kaya, no? That has always been the gripe, no? There's a group, Philippines HR group. Taas po ang kamay ng member ng Philippines HR group. Yan. Laging reklamo yan. Okay? I-blacklist natin kasi hindi in-invite mo, sabi darating, hindi darating. No, naghihintay ka ng wala. Our sourcing tactics are limited and lacking in creativity. Ayan. About 35% commented that the sourcing tactics are limited and lacking in creativity. Okay. So let's look at the result of our own survey. Ayan. About 37.3%, okay, of the people who responded to our survey says that their strategy is not attracting the talents that they need. So Is it possible na yung yung resources that you're using or the information that you're sharing is not enough to attract talents? No? Our job ads are generic. There's still a lot of that. I see postings on Facebook, in LinkedIn, in JobStreet na napaka-generic pa rin ng ad. No? Masabi lang na may na-post. That's still a problem. Okay? Walang branding na nangyayari. Walang employer branding. But big part is the those who are saying many of the candidates we call don't show up. 52% don't show up. Okay? Our sourcing tactics are limited and lacking in creativity. Merong from PJ, no? We are not using the right tools and plugins when sourcing. There are free tools online. Most potential candidates are not using LinkedIn. In fact, a lot of your potentially good employees are not even looking for a job. They're happily employed elsewhere. So that's the challenge of sourcing. Okay. Siguro just to give you some background on PJ. PJ is a highly experienced headhunter, no? So she knows what she's talking about. Okay. So I have 10 recommendations, and then using the annotate function. Okay. Let me just bring out the using the annotate function. Can you say, okay, this we're doing, this we're not doing, this we need to improve. Okay. First is align with hiring managers to profile for the profile and compensation expectations. That's the first part in looking for the right talent, is to know what you're looking for. So that's the first part. So if you're doing that well, put a check. If not, if you think that's something that you need to improve, put an X. Okay, second is maintain an updated talent database. If you've been doing recruitment for years, do you have a database? Nababalikan nyo ba? Na-update nyo ba yung inyong database? Kasi posible na yung dating hindi qualified, baka qualified na ngayon. So, it's important to have an updated talent database. There are technologies out there that you can use for maintaining an updated talent database. Next is, hold on. Diversify your sourcing challenge, online sourcing challenge. Okay, channels, sorry. Sino ang makikita mo sa LinkedIn? Yung makikita mo kasi sa LinkedIn, some of them, hindi mo makikita sa Facebook. Sino yung nakikita mo sa Facebook? Sino pag naghahanap ka ng say sales lady, factory workers, saan mo sila hanapin? Wala sila sa LinkedIn. So do you have different ways of looking for different talents? Next is, hold on. Okay. Labas ko na nga lahat. Yeah, para hindi tayo... Oops, sorry. Balik. All right. Okay. Include offline sourcing channels. Okay? Associations, federations, community, peso offices. Okay? Do you have an employee referral program in your organization? Okay? employee referral is still one of the most effective ways of looking for qualified and competent talents. No? So if you have a good employee referral program, that should help you find the talents that you're looking for. Okay. Be proactive with hard to fill positions. Is that something that you're doing in your organization? Alin ba dito sa mga positions sa company ang mahirap i-fill at there's always a chance that I will look for those talents. So parang ano, no? Parang pooling. No? Are you doing that? Nowadays, this is very important. Building a strong employer brand. Okay? If you don't have a strong employer brand, in fact, if you have a bad employer brand, sometimes even if you have good compensation, it's hard to attract talents. Kasi there's this thing, Glassdoor. Anybody familiar with Glassdoor? What's your reputation there? In Job Street, what's your reputation? What are people saying about your organization? Right? Okay, anybody wants to say? Jason, you want to say something? Wala. Okay, good na. Yan. Sabi ni Joy Alos Baños, the rates of LinkedIn expensive. Yes. Pero yun eh, you have to invest in finding talents eh. 'Di ba? Kasi pag hindi ka nag-invest, mahirapan ka talaga makahanap. And what is the cost of delays in deployment? 'Di ba? Improve your communication, your job post, your invites for interviews, etc. Meron akong mga nare-receive minsan na invite, text lang. We've seen your profile and we would like to invite you for an interview. Sino? Who you, di ba? So how do you invite your candidates so that they feel that they are important, ano, that they're desired talent or candidate. Ayan. And follow up with candidates who do not respond. Ayan. Recruitment, sourcing is a two-way search. So kung in-invite mo siya nung una, hindi siya dumating, maybe hindi siya ganun ka-interesado. So you have to sell, no? Follow up with them. Kasi lalo na for hard to fill positions eh. Minsan yung ikaw pa talaga yung manliligaw sa sa candidate. And then lastly, as much as possible, automate what you can automate. There are a lot of tools out there that you can use to automate lalo na yung maintaining ng talent database. No? So these are some recommendations. So let's see. A lot of checks on aligning with hiring managers. Ang daming X sa maintaining database. Okay, there are a few checks, but a lot of excess on maintaining an updated talent database. Big check on the diversifying your sourcing channel online. Check din sa offline. Okay. So mukhang okay naman tayo. So parang doon lang tayo sa database at sa automation merong challenge. A few excess on building a strong employer brand. Okay, so yan yung result ng ating comparison. I hope that this gives you an idea on where your strengths are in terms of sourcing and where you need to improve. Okay. Questions so far? Okay. Now let's move to employer branding. No? Lalo na ngayon na ang mga tao, ang mga candidates natin are mostly online, especially with this COVID-19 going on. People are practically stuck to the internet and the social media. No? And it's very important. So when we're bombarded with a lot of information, we don't get it's easy to to distract us. So here's an example of a generic looking advertisement. Yan lang, masabi lang na na-post. Compare that to something like this. No, this is from IBM. I just copied it from their ad. Okay, so what can we say about this? Okay, they're not just talking about the position that they're looking for. They're also talking about what the kind of culture they have, their value for innovation, and being remarkable. Okay? So, kung titignan mo, very little on the technical aspect of the job, and more on describing yung mga competencies that they're looking for. Pero kasama doon yung who they are as a potential employer. It's what we call employer branding. Here's another example for a recruiting manager that we've seen on the web. No? So, tayo ba, kapag nagpo-post tayo ng mga job advertisement, nasaan pa tayo, no? On a scale of 1, very generic, to visually appealing, compelling job post. Nasaan ka? So 1 to 10. Sa 10 ka na ba? Nasa somewhere in the middle o nasa 1 pa? This one's very, very important. I think we need to work with, if you don't have the marketing skills to do this, there is an opportunity to partner with your marketing department to help you with your ad. Kasi madaling malunod diyan, lalo na for example sa isang FB group. Madalas kasi kung sa FB group, sunod-sunod yung mga posting ng mga job vacancies. And it's easy to ignore your advertisement if it doesn't capture attention. Okay. So on Wednesday, if I may again shamelessly plug, if you are interested, if employer branding is a weakness in your organization, I'm running a more detailed session on sourcing and employer branding. So what are the tricks that headhunters use in sourcing, and how do you use your company's strength to attract talents for your organization? Given your budget, you might not be looking at for the most experienced, the most competent person on the job. Given your budget and given your ability to train people, how would you present yourself as an organization so that you will attract the talents that you're looking for? Yung mga qualified and fit dun sa yung organizational culture. That will be the topic. I hope that if this is something that you're interested in, you can join me on Wednesday for that. No? So as broad strokes, when you do employer branding, you look at what's your goal, no? In employer branding. This is something that I'm going to discuss on Wednesday. How do you state your goal? What are the characteristics of a desired candidate? We call that candidate persona. Who are you? Para sa marketing yan eh. Sino yung niche? Okay? What is your employer, not employee, sorry, that's a typo. What is your employer value proposition? And then, how do you determine how and where you will promote your brand? Where is the right place? And then lastly, how do you measure and adjust your employer branding strategy? So those are some of the things I'm going to talk about. So question po so far? Okay, still have time? All right. Second is third would be initial screening. Okay. So there's aptitude testing, there's personality assessment, and there's interviewing. Dun sa aptitude testing at saka personality assessment, kapag ka mga hinahanap mo mga fresh grads, entry level, no? Okay sila diyan. Habang tumataas ang posisyon, paayaw ng paayaw diyan kasi they say my experience is my reputation, ano? So yun yung mga challenges. So ang natitira kadalasan is interviewing. So what are the challenges that you experience in initial screening? So Danny, can you please share the online poll on initial screening? Okay, so we have 3 questions. The screening tools are not aligned to determine the competencies that we're looking for. The manner of interviewing is not standardized or systematic. Too many good candidates stop showing up after the first interview. Okay. We have 52%. Okay. About 57%. We're still waiting for the half. About 30 seconds, and we'll end the polling. I think that's what we have, so we can end the poll now. Let's look at, okay. So, you've shared it na, no, Danny? Okay, see it? About 58% who answered says the screening tools are not aligned to determine the competencies that we are looking for. No? So that's one problem. Okay? And the manner of interviewing is not standardized or systematic. Marami akong nakikita niyan eh. During the interview, ang hawak, resume, and then note doon sa resume. No? Kung ano maisip na tanong. So, pag nag-interview ka ng 10, iba-iba yung approach sa interview sa 10. How do you evaluate that? We don't have a standardized approach for interviewing. That's happening in many organizations. Ano? Yan yung ating challenge. All right. So, this is what we found out. About 49.3% said they don't. The tools are not aligned to determine the competencies that they're looking for. Lalo na kung generic lang lahat ng assessment tools na ginagamit. No. Iba-iba yung position sa company. Yeah. Second is the manner of interviewing is not standardized. Sa initial yan, lalo na dun sa final interview, it's not standardized. No? And then 40% says too many good candidates stop showing up after the first interview. Kung minsan, okay naman yung interview, yung pinakagusto mong candidate, siya pa yung hindi babalik para dun sa final interview. Taas po ang kamay nung nakaka-experience, yung pinakagusto mong candidate, siya ang hindi babalik for the next interview. Meron bang ganong experience? Okay? So, yeah. Oo. So, ayan nangyayari, no? Heartbreak. Nakakaiyak. Oo. So, there are two major issues here. Number one is yung accuracy of assessment. Okay? Do you have a system in place for customizing your assessment strategy with the competencies or the knowledge, skills, and attitude needed to succeed on the job? Oo, nakakapag-formulate ba tayo ng maayos na assessment strategy? Because, you know, the competency requirement for an accountant is different from the competency requirement of a production supervisor, a production manager. Okay? How do you establish an assessment mechanism that will get you the information that you need if this person has the competencies needed to do the job? So that's one major issue. Second, and this one's very important, is candidate experience. Kumusta naman ang experience ng inyong candidate during the process? Okay. If they're going to assess their experience after attending the interview, will they look forward to, sana pumasa ako kasi I really like my experience. I really want to find out more about this organization because it's very interesting. It's something that I should explore further. Or, at best, sana ma-hire ako dito sa kumpanya na ito. So, those are two things. Okay? According to some research, okay, about 60% of employers have read online negative feedback about their applicant process. Pinaghintay ng matagal, masungit yung nasa reception, okay, pressure interviews, pagkatapos ng interview, hindi man lang in-email, no, don't call us, we'll call you. Ayan. 72% of candidates who have had poor experience have shared that negative experience online or with someone directly, which contributes to the bad reputation of the company and affects the employer brand. 60% of job seekers have quit an application in the middle due to its length or complexity. If you're looking for a very talented candidate, if you see a very talented candidate who is actively looking for a job, and if the competence is evident, chances are, kung mabagal ka, mauunahan ka. Diba? Mabuti ng mabuti kung hindi yan actively looking. But if the person is actively looking, that person might quit and make a decision. No? 51% of candidates are frustrated with the lack of communication from the company. Di ba? Ano ba tawag doon? Ghosting ba tawag doon? Ha? Ghosting ka nung kumpanya na in-applyan mo. 80% of job seekers say they would be discouraged to consider other relevant job openings at a company that failed to notify them of their application status. So if you did not treat the candidate well, hindi siya natanggap sa trabaho dun sa company mo, tapos in-invite mo siya again because you think the person is suited for another job in your company, about 80% chance they won't come back. Hindi na sila interesado because of a negative experience. And lastly, talent is 4 times more likely to consider your company for a future opportunity when you offer them constructive feedback. When you give them feedback about their application, about where they need to improve. So ito yung mga bagay, no? Kasi when you're doing recruitment, when you are inviting people in to invest time, money, and effort in your process, you have to appreciate that and show that during the interview process, no? Aside from the technical aspects of it. So the big question for everyone in this room is, how well do you treat your candidates? No? Regardless of if they deserve it or not, how do you treat them? That's something that I think we should reflect on. So these are the questions that we should answer. How does your recruitment team formulate screening tactics given the different nature of jobs and competencies required? Meron po bang gustong mag-share? How does your recruitment team formulate screening tactics given the different nature of jobs and competencies required? Raise hand. Kasi dapat inuupuan nyo, lalo na if it's a new position, how are we going to assess for these competencies? Because tools might not be available. What are the interview questions that you're going to ask? No? If you're looking for a competency on risk management, okay, how are you going to screen for that? Something that you should sit down, stakeholder and recruitment. No? Have you validate the effectiveness of your screening mechanisms? No? What makes you say that these tools will work? No? Have you benchmarked them with your high-performing team members in your organization? How well do you treat your candidates before, during, and after the interview? No? Yung first, after the call, yung tinawagan nyo yung candidate para pumunta sa interview. The first person they'll meet would be the guard, and if you have a receptionist, the receptionist. Kasama sa employer branding yun. Kasama sa candidate experience. Hanggang doon sa waiting time bago ma-interview at saka waiting time para matanggap yung decision sa interview, all of this contribute to the candidate experience. And the last question is, how equipped are your recruitment frontliners in carrying out all this? Are they trained to do all this? Diba? Unang-una, do you have a practice? And then second, when you have recruitment professionals joining your organization, are they trained on this? So, shameless plug, this is going to be on Thursday, okay? Is conducting online interviews. So, if you want, if not you, your staff wants to join conducting online interviews, that'll be on June 4, 2 to 4 p.m. And then we have final interviewing. Okay, it's okay. So this is our result, but I'd like to nauna pala yung aking ano. Okay. Can we do another let's do another poll. Medyo ma-poll itong ating learning session, ano? What are the challenges in your organization? Nangyayari ba to? We are losing candidates because it takes too long to schedule the final interview. Tagal lang hintayan. We take too long to decide that we lose top candidates in the process. Lalo na yung may 3-candidate rule. Okay? The hiring decision makers are using their intuition and personal formula to make hiring decisions, which often leads to wrong hire. That happened in your organization. Candidate declines offer for varying reasons that should have been addressed in the beginning of the process. Okay. Okay. We're at 63%. Wait for a few seconds. So while we're waiting, there's a suggestion na pagka nagpo-formulate ng screening mechanisms, which include interview, is to involve the hiring decision maker para align. Yun yung pinag-uusapan natin when we say alignment, ano, with the hiring decision maker. Okay. So, There you go. 16% said we are losing candidates because it takes too long to schedule the final interview. About 5% says we take too long to decide that we lose top candidates. Okay. 42% is basically saying very intuitive yung decision making, and maybe there's no aside from intuition, yung practical basis for decision making, kanya-kanya, no? And then candidates declines offer for varying reasons that should have been addressed in the beginning of the process. Okay? Ano ba yung mga example ng mga yung mga reason kung bakit nagdi-decline ang candidate sa offer? Kasi ayaw pang pag-usapan yung, for example, in many organizations, I hope this is not true in your organization, but in many or in some organizations, ayaw pag-usapan ng sweldo hanggang dun sa kahuli-hulihang parte ng interview. Gustong-gusto mo na, hindi mo naman pala afford. O kaya, yung dating sinasabi na ito yung package, pagdating doon sa dulo, hindi na yun yung package. Kasi doon sa evaluation nila, the candidate did not deserve the package. So yun yung mga typical, no? O yung mga arrangements. Okay? I think, personally, this is my opinion. I don't know if you share this opinion. My opinion is if you can settle all the money stuff in the beginning, it will free you of all the unnecessary heartaches in the end. No? Kaya kung minsan pag kami candidate nagtanong, magkano ba ang budget? If I'm not free to answer that, tinanong ko, ano bang expectation mo? And then kapag ka hindi match, hanggang saan ang negotiation, kung hindi kaya, sabi ko, mukhang hindi kaya yung hinahanap mo. If you're not willing to negotiate, then maybe we should end this process so that you and I don't have to waste time. So that's my opinion. So, ito yung lumabas doon sa aming survey. About 52% said masyadong matagal mag-schedule ng final interview. Yung minamadali kang mag-source ng candidate, tapos pagdating sa final interview, walang urgency yung nagpa-final interview. Hindi available eh. Busy eh. No? And then, nasa na? Handa na akong mag-interview. Wala na. Kasalanan ng taga-recruitment because you did not keep the candidate warm. Sometimes that happens, no? We take too long to decide that we lose top candidates in the process. 53.3%. Ayan. Sino po rito ang may 3 candidates rule? Taas ang kamay. Minimum 3 candidates rule. Meron pa ba nun? My recommendation is pag merong pasok sa inyong qualification at nagustuhan nyo, i-hire nyo na. If you're looking for really good talents, chances are there's not too many of them. The hiring decision makers are using their intuition and personal formula to make hiring decisions, which often leads to wrong hire, is often a product of lack of training on the part of the hiring decision maker. So very intuitive lang talaga. Gut feel lang yung ginagamit. Again, candidates decline offer for varying reasons that should have been addressed in the beginning of the process. So importante yung yung initial phase of the screening process so that it doesn't have to be a problem in the final interview, because that wastes the time of the candidate and that wastes the time of the hiring decision maker. So, questions to ask. In your organizations, how do hiring decision makers perceive the importance of timely decision making? This is where I think the leadership skill of the recruitment manager becomes very, very important. Naiintindihan ba ng hiring decision makers in your organization na the best talents are not always willing to wait. And their unwillingness to wait is not a negative characteristic. It's not a negative trait because they're human. They have things that they need to prioritize. Meron ako mga candidate na sinasabi, if they want it bad enough, they should wait. Okay, so that's the challenge. How realistic is the 3-candidate rule for hard-to-fill positions in your organization? Diba? Pwede ba natin bawasan yung 3-candidate rule ng 1-candidate rule? And then, how equipped are hiring decision makers in assessing candidates and making hiring decisions? Yan. Otherwise, talagang intuition lang ang gagamitin nila kung wala naman silang pinaghuhugutan when they do their interviews. So, lastly, what is the recruitment team doing to ensure that there are little to no mixed expectation by the time of the final interview? So, babalik tayo dun sa sa initial process, yung pag in-invite mo na yung candidate. How do you make sure that you're able to thresh out everything so that when the person goes to the final interview, nasettle na yung mga detalye na yun. Okay. So, yan. Question before we go to employee onboarding? So, the final part, is the employee onboarding. Dito, I think, I can understand the reason why many recruitment teams have a very limited appreciation of employee onboarding. Kasi inisip natin, trabaho na ng training department yan. No? Trabaho na ng training department yan. Pero kasi ang laki ng investment mo dun sa candidate, no? Lalo na kung hard to find job yan, laki ng investment mo doon. If you don't take the cudgels for employee onboarding, kung hindi mo i-champion yung employee onboarding, you might lose a lot of potential champions in your organization. No? Kasi madalas ito yung nagiging dahilan kung bakit maagang umaalis yung mga candidates sa company. So, survey. Let's do survey. Last final survey. Okay. So, what are your challenges in onboarding? Do you have an established employee onboarding program? Employee orientation is not done consistently. Candidates have negative experience during pre or onboarding that lead to disengagement and ultimately departure. No? Yung 2 weeks na, wala pang table or company ID. Malapit na ma-regularize, wala pang employment contract. Ano ba yun? Yung mga ganun bang experience? No? Okay. So, 50% have voted. Yeah. So, majority, 55%. No? So, let's wait for just a few more seconds. Okay. Sige. Okay, let's see the result. Interesting that only 15% say we don't have an established employee onboarding program. That brings the question of, kasi 15%, ano? That brings the question, what are we talking about when we say employer onboarding program? Okay. Kasi yung employee orientation is a small part of employee onboarding. Okay? Pero dito, 69% say that their employee orientation is not done consistently. Taas, ano? And then 15% candidates have negative experience during pre and onboarding that lead to disengagement and ultimately departure. Okay? So, what are we talking about here? Okay? Ito yung aming data. 49.3% of all the people who responded to our survey say they don't have a formal onboarding program. About 45% hindi consistent ang employee orientation. And then about 28% candidates have negative experience during pre-onboarding that lead to disengagement and ultimately departure. Kung minsan nga, isa rin sa reason to for non-regularization. Kasi hindi sila, mabagal ang learning curve. So, bakit kailangan ng onboarding program? Because employees make the critical decision to stay or leave in the company within the first 6 months. Yung mga tipong, uy, mariregular na siya. Ay, naku, ayoko na rito. Hindi na ako magpaparegular. Increasing an employee's level of engagement could potentially improve performance by 20%. Okay? And reduce the employee's probability of departure by up to 87%. No? So, retention and performance. It shortens the learning curve. No? Kung taas po ang kamay ng KPI nila ang job fit. Taas ang kamay ng KPI nila yung job fit. Key Performance Indicator. Yung dami ng mga na-hire na nag-stay up to regularization or beyond regularization. KPI nyo po ba yun? Wala nagtaas ng kamay. Meron? Wala nagtaas ng kamay. Anong KPI natin? Paki-message nga po sa chat. What is your key performance indicator sa recruitment? How do you measure the performance sa recruitment? What are your measures? Timeliness of delivery. Timeliness of delivery, taas ang kamay. Timeliness. Timeliness of delivery. Okay? So, dalawa. Okay? How do you measure? Okay? How do you measure job fit? Kasi the measure of job fit is really the person's ability to perform the job that the person merited. Kung contractual yan, the whole way through the contract, di ba? At kung probationary yan, mare-regularize yan. Hindi natanggal at saka hindi nag-resign. Okay? So, if you ask me, timeliness of delivery is quantity, that's productivity. The quality part of our role in recruitment is if the person performed well in the organization when you hire them. So, yan. An employee's first day of employment may have more of a bearing on actual length of employment and employee development. Pwedeng ma-disengage ang new employee right after the recruitment last step. No? So, how do you develop an onboarding program? No? Again, let me clarify that an employee or a one-day or a half-day employee orientation is not exactly an employee onboarding program. So if that's what you're talking about when you say we have an employee onboarding program, that's wrong. No? So what do? You work with the hiring decision makers, yung mga magiging manager ng candidate, yung training department to put together an employee onboarding program. You have to clarify roles. Ano ang role ng recruitment sa onboarding? Kadalasan yung pre-boarding at saka yung orientation. Part yan ng recruitment. Okay? That's your part. Endorsing the candidate to the department head is your job if you are in recruitment. Yung department head has a big part in the onboarding program kasi from the moment the person is endorsed up to the regularization is onboarding. Yung 6 months. Okay? Anong role ng training department? Kasi yung training department part, yung mga necessary training, skills training, technical training, soft skills training that the person needs to have in order to succeed in that 6 months. Has to be in place. Okay? We need to have a policy and procedures on employee onboarding. And then you run the program. No? Kasi you want to know, tama naman yung hinire ko okay naman. Pero hindi na regularize. Bakit? Hindi na onboard ng maayos. So ikaw yung magsasuffer, ikaw yung in charge of recruitment, ikaw yung magsasuffer on 2 counts. 1, sasabihin, mali yung na-hire mo. Or second, hahanap ka na naman ng kapalit kasi hindi na regularize. Di ba? So yan. So run the program, solicit feedback from the stakeholders. And by stakeholders, we're talking about the hiring decision maker, the training department, and the employee. Kumusta ba yung employee, yung onboarding, no? And then measure and improve. Okay, so question po about employee onboarding. If you don't have an employee onboarding program in your organization and you're interested in putting together one, I invite you to attend our online employee onboarding program on June 9. That's 2 to 4 p.m. And I'll share with you some practices on employee onboarding. Okay, so we're at the tail end, but this one's a very important part of this learning session. Is what do you think are the skills recruitment professionals need to develop today? What is your top 10? I want to show you this slide. This is a list of competencies that I gathered from different sources about the skills that are recommended for recruitment professionals. So using the annotate function, can you please stamp your top 10, just 10 competencies that are necessary to be developed for the recruitment people in your organization. Ayan. You do that. Alin sa inyo, ano ang inyong top? Okay? I see strong communication, aptitude. 10 lang po huwag niyo lalahatin. Top 10 nyo. What's your top 10? Okay? Okay, top 10. Okay. So a lot of you are saying, I agree with you, strong communication skills is very important for the recruitment professionals. Having a confidence, not just to speak up to senior candidates, but also to senior management to influence the implementation of a more strategic recruitment strategy, good listening skills, yes. Yung body language consciousness, conscientiousness is about paying attention to the body language of the candidate and also your own body language when you are interviewing. That's what it means. Reliability, being able to deliver on time, big picture thinking, hindi transactional, no? Ang classic example ko niyan yung may candidate na ba tayo? Wala pa, sir. Pinost ko naman na. Pinost ko na yung vacancy kaso wala nag-a-apply. Yan. So you have to be more strategic, no? Patience, networking, yes, empathy, halos lahat, ano? Okay. Konti sa internal consulting. Aptitude for learning is very important, especially in this technology-driven world, no? Learning sourcing techniques. So, yung mga may ano to may color code ito. Yung blue ay these are leadership competencies. Yung kulay green ay personal mastery, personal competencies. Yung gray ay technical, technology-based. Sorry, tama ba? Mali yung kulay ko ng big picture thinking. That should be blue. And then the orange ones are the technical HR recruitment competencies. So, this is very good input, no? Can we print screen this para now ano ba talaga, no? These are my recommendations on if we're going to develop the competencies of our recruitment professionals. I think one of the things na less considered, but if you ask me is very important, is leadership and strategic thinking. The recruitment professionals, from the recruitment manager down to the talent acquisition specialist, should all be leaders and strategic thinkers. Kulang yung compliance or order takers. No? Should be data-driven, should be social, capable of networking, right? Has technology savvy, good marketing person. Hindi na pwedeng ang strength mo lang if you are in recruitment ay screening. Marunong ka lang mag-interview. Hindi. You have to be a really good marketer. You should be creative. And of course, you are a subject matter expert in the area of recruitment because that's your anchor for all the things that you're doing in recruitment. So, ito po yung lahat ng nag-gather na information in the survey that I did. And yung mga sagot ninyo sa mga poll kanina gave me some degree of validation na ito nga yung nangyayari. And obviously, there's a need to strengthen the competencies of recruitment professionals in our organization. I hope that this afternoon session helped you appreciate your current practice and also what you need to work on so that you can be more effective in delivering talents in your organization. If you ask me, in the whole area of HR management, recruitment is a very important element. Kasi pag mali ang ni-recruit natin, wala na yun sa training. A wrong hire will not be corrected by training. So we play a very important part. We need to be leaders. We need to be strategic thinkers. And we need to up our game as far as recruitment is concerned. So thank you for participating in today's learning session. And I hope that you enjoyed our session today and got something of value out of it. And we'll email you the presentation that we shared today. And feel free to email us if you have any questions or if you want to attend our sessions next week. Good afternoon.